Protesters chanting freedom and down with communism in Cuba's largest demonstration in decades. Tens of thousands were on the streets yesterday. They called for an end to the country's communist dictatorship, which they blame for the nation's worsening conditions, including food and medicine shortages. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel warned then that there will be bloodshed if the demonstrations grow. But the protesters took to the streets anyway, some even holding up the American flag, while Cubans in Miami held up a sign reading, "Biden, help us." But what they got was silence. Senator Marco Rubio called out the White House for their lack of response early on.
It's now been over 12 hours since over 32 cities in Cuba, brave people have taken to the streets to protest against communist, Marxist, evil tyranny. And so far, not a word, not a statement from Joe Biden, from the vice president, from the White House. Not a word. Why are they so uncomfortable coming forward and just condemning this evil socialist Marxist regime? It's been 62 years while these people have been out there suffering. These people are frustrated. They want to live in a normal country.
Well, Emily, starting with you, it took nearly 24 hours, but we finally got a statement from the President of the United States on this. We'll pop it up on the screen. It says this: "We stand with the Cuban people and their clarion call for freedom and relief from the tragic grip of the pandemic and from the decades of repression and economic suffering to which they have been subjected by Cuba's authoritarian regime. The United States calls on the Cuban regime to hear the people and serve their needs at this vital moment rather than enriching themselves." It took nearly 24 hours, Emily.
And when they did, what a weak response, Kaylee. Contrast this with the Trump administration that last January redesignated Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism, citing in particular Cuba's continued harboring of U.S. fugitives, refusal to extradite Colombian guerrilla commanders, and also the continued vocal support for Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, and also the Trump administration's vocal decrying of the potential participation of Cuba into the sonic attacks that left dozens of U.S. diplomats injured in Havana in 2016. Contrast that weak statement with going back George W. Bush in 2003, who said, look, I have demanded from the Cuban government and explained to them that if they will, that there's a potential for democracy and a future of hope. If they will, he said, work with me, if they will hold free and fair elections, allowing the Cuban people to organize, assemble, and to speak freely and ease the stranglehold on private enterprise. He said, I will work with Congress to ease the sanctions against them if they do that. But he said, since I made that offer, we have seen how the regime answers diplomatic initiatives. They respond with defiance and contempt and a new round of brutal oppression. Clearly, they will not change by its own choice. The sanctions were then overturned, obviously, by subsequent administrations, but before Trump entered in the presidency. But I just have to make the point that clearly George W. Bush got it. Clearly President Trump got it. Clearly these Cuban Americans who protest in solidarity in Miami and around the country get it. So why can't President Biden?
It's a great question. Republicans seem to get it. Democrats don't. Kennedy, before we heard from the President of the United States, we heard from someone in his State Department. Julie Chung is her name. She thought she had the reason for these protests. She wrote this: peaceful protests are growing in Cuba as the Cuban people exercise their right to peaceful assembly to express concern about rising COVID cases, deaths, and medicine shortages. We commend the numerous efforts of the Cuban people mobilizing donations to help neighbors in need. So this is about COVID, Kennedy, not 62 years of socialist tyranny?
No, it turns out people don't like living under communist oppression. People don't like having their rights consistently trampled and dissenters thrown in prison, homosexuals thrown in prison. They don't like having to operate in a black market because the state-run stores are so incredibly expensive. And, you know, the level of immobility. It's interesting because the Cuban government has been blaming it on YouTubers and social media, and that is actually partially true because, you know, you're never going to hold teenagers back from TikTok, and they're seeing the rest of the world. And it's not too different than what happened in the 1980s when communism fell in Eastern Europe because, you know, we exported Frank Zappa and Levi's, and they wanted that culture. You know, it's like kids see what's happening all over the world. They're learning TikTok dances. They want to be a part of that, and you can't in a place that is completely state-run. And I don't want to hear Bernie Sanders idealizing communist Cuba. It's not about COVID. It's not utopia, and they deserve to live how they want to live.
Yeah, well said. We have that soundbite from Senator Sanders. Let's play it now. This is appalling.
We're very opposed to the authoritarian nature of Cuba. But, it's unfair to simply say everything is bad. When Fidel Castro came into office, you know what he did? He had a massive literacy program. Is that a bad thing, even though Fidel Castro did it?
There's a lot of dissidents imprisoned in Cuba.
That's right, and we condemn that.
Yeah, Will, this after that 1986 audio emerged of Senator Sanders, then just a private citizen, saying that he was very excited by the rise of Fidel Castro.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders basically subscribes to that meme, which is communism just hasn't fully been tried appropriately yet. I see the flaws, but wait till we're in charge. Then we can really perfect communism. I actually disagree with Kennedy a slight bit. This is probably partially about COVID-19 and medicine and access to vaccines, because it's about access to everything in a communist authoritarian society. There is a general inability to distribute, to innovate, to create goods. And I'm sure the vaccine, just like toilet paper in Venezuela, is hard to come by when you try to control an entire economy. But the real trick here is they managed to partner that lack of access with oppression and tyranny. That's the real beautiful trick of communism. And I want to say this last thing because it's important. You said it, Kaylee. Some of those protesters were holding the American flag. So while we, the ungrateful grandchildren of prosperity, talk about whether or not the American flag is a divisive symbol or not in this great country, people that really understand freedom and oppression, that really understand it, be it in Taiwan or Cuba, know that that flag is a symbol of freedom.
Yeah, Harris, the bravery of these protesters must be mentioned. There are government officials with machine guns on the street. These individuals do not have weapons of their own to protect themselves. They've taken to the streets, even though the president is threatening dead bodies. We deserve to recognize their bravery in this moment.
Kaylee, you went right to it, that sweet spot of where I live, and that all has to do with the people on the ground. Like, we can talk all we want about resources that they don't have and all of that, but I want to know, when the sun sets on their peaceful protesting, what is Cuba doing to them? I mean, that's the problem with a lackluster response from the White House, because they know that they can say, well, we'd really like for you to stay calm. Are they talking to the government or to the protesters? Because I'd like for the government to stay calm. It's a communist government known for punishing, cruelly treating and killing its own citizens. I mean, that's what the communists do. You think, what, it's a party when you protest in places like this? The government says, oh, yeah, remember what they do with dissidents in this country. Remember what they do with the LGBT, beautiful members of their community. They don't want any of it. That's the sign of communism. So I am less worried about whether or not they're getting the resources. Yes, there's food insecurity on the ground because the government is mean. And yes, COVID and other medical needs are there. But are they torturing the people who are coming up against their government when the lights go out and the cameras go down and they can block the internet or choose not to and just threaten people not to be on their phones? However, they can do that as communists? Or threaten people's families? I mean, it is hell on the ground if you don't agree with Cuba's government. So that's what I'm concerned about today.
They're chanting,
that's what
we are not afraid.
Tonight.
Yep, we are not afraid. Yes,
and we are with you.
We are with you. As the beacon of freedom, we are supporting the quest for freedom, and we will keep those protesters in our prayers for sure.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.